The enemy is running out of time to stop you because what God has placed inside you is already beginning to shake the very foundations of darkness. And hell knows it. You've been marked since birth, not just as a believer, but as a disruptor, a chosen one sent to demolish strongholds, break generational curses, and release captives that religion, culture, and trauma have kept bound. That's why the warfare has been so intense, why your mind has been under siege, why doors have slammed shut in your face, why people have betrayed you when you needed them most. It was never about you being weak. It is because you were dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. You don't see yourself as a threat, but in the spirit realm, your very presence makes demons tremble. They see your authority before you recognize it yourself, and their only strategy now is delay and distraction, because your anointing has already matured in secret. The wilderness you walked through, the betrayals that tried to break you, the isolation that crushed your heart, it was never meant to destroy you, but to refine you in silence. Luke 10:19 reminds you that you've been given power to trample on snakes and scorpions, and the enemy knows that once you fully step into your identity, he has no weapon left that can prosper. You were never ordinary. Your calling has been timed for such a moment as this, and now that moment is unfolding, whether the enemy likes it or not. He tried to bury you in cycles of lust, depression, anxiety, addiction, but none of it stuck. God pulled you out, even when you didn't want to be rescued, because the prophecy written over your life must be fulfilled. Romans 11:29 says the gifts and calling of God are irrevocable. That means no detour, no delay, no demon can cancel what heaven has decreed. And now, as you start to recognize who you are and what you carry, the attacks might increase, but so will your authority. You are walking into a level of spiritual insight and discernment that terrifies hell, because now you see through the illusion. You are not just fighting your own battles anymore. You are disrupting the enemy's long-standing plans over your bloodline. That's why some of the warfare hasn't even been about you. It's been about the lives that will be transformed through your obedience. The enemy is running out of options because every weapon formed against you has only sharpened your resolve. You don't run from storms anymore. You walk through them with the fire of God in your eyes. Isaiah 54:17 wasn't just a promise. It is your current reality. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. The enemy can't curse what God has blessed, and he knows he's running out of time because your steps are now ordered, your voice is now aligned, and your heart is fully surrendered. You've stopped negotiating with fear, and that alone has changed everything. Now doors are opening not because you forced them, but because heaven is responding to your obedience. The enemy tried to use people to break you, but God used those betrayals to break open a deeper level of spiritual power in you. Every time you forgave when it didn't make sense, you activated a higher level of warfare that he could not counter. Every time you worshipped when it hurt, angels were dispatched. Every time you declared the word instead of your worry, chains were shattered in places you couldn't even see. You thought you were alone, but heaven was watching, and now your obedience is bearing fruit. Your story is becoming a testimony that will ignite faith in others, and the enemy can't afford that. That's why he's scrambling now, sending old temptations, resurrecting dead relationships, trying to trigger past wounds. But it's too late. You've seen too much, grown too deep, and burned too many bridges behind you to ever go back. Philippians 1-6 declares that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion, and that work is accelerating now. You're no longer in the stage of wondering if you re-chosen. You in the stage of manifesting what being chosen looks like. This is the season where every lie is exposed, every hidden attack is reversed, and every delay is redeemed. The enemy is losing ground with every step you take toward God, and you need to know that your consistency is more powerful than his chaos. Keep moving forward even when it feels slow, because what's happening in the spirit is far greater than what you see. The shaking you feel in your life is not destruction, it's alignment. God is shaking everything that cannot remain, so only the unshakable can rise with you. The enemy's clock is ticking, and your obedience is speeding up the countdown. So now the question is simple. Will you keep showing up, keep trusting, keep obeying, even when it doesn't make sense? Because the moment you stop being reactive and start walking in intentional authority, you become unstoppable. Your life is not just a story. It is a warning to darkness and a blueprint for others trying to find their way out. You're not behind schedule. You're right on time. The enemy is panicking, not because you're weak, but because you finally know who you are. Now finish what God started.